Now it's time for Inspirational Women, and my guest, Corrie Schumacher, who is a professional woman, a wife, a mother. Yet there are some roles we never plan for or imagine we will embrace, and that's what Corrie Schumacher abruptly discovered one night over a year ago. Corrie joins us to tell of the toughest stories a mother would ever tell, the tragic death of a child, her young adult son. And we'll learn from Corrie the reasons that she feels so compelled to tell this story. Corrie Schumacher, good morning. Thank you so greatly for being with us this morning.
My pleasure.
And especially at this time, which to me feels like such a challenging, hard time, having lost your son, Sam.
Yeah.
But you are wanting to share this really important, multifaceted story. So I am grateful that you're here, and I think our listeners are going to feel that gratitude as well.
Oh, good.
Let's start perhaps with what happened.
Sam is my firstborn son, is 22, and he had a motorcycle, fast motorcycle, and he was riding fast. He was riding faster than he should be, just enjoying his moment on this fast motorcycle. I know that he went around a couple of cars on this turn and on the backside of Redmond Town Center and was speeding off. And from what I understand, he just didn't make a turn and got a little bit wide, and there was a rock on the side of the road that was, I wanted it to be a really big rock, but it wasn't really big, but big enough. And his front wheel hit it. His motorcycle slid down the road, and Sam flew off into the shrubs on the side of the road.
I'm guessing he was wearing his helmet.
He was fully geared.
Complete. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Boots, jacket, pants, Kevlar or whatever they have, to make them protect the body.
Yes.
And but nothing protects your brain. It's the same thing with playing football and brain injury. You can have the best helmet in the world, but it doesn't protect the inside of your head. And so Sam's really his only injury was traumatic brain injury. The EMTs were there very quickly. I got the opportunity to meet the woman who was he had passed, and she was scolding him as he went around her, and she didn't see him, the actual accident, but she saw the bike. And so she went and found him and was right there the whole time with him, which was wonderful for me to know. And EMTs got him, 4 EMTs in that ambulance, keeping him alive, caring for him, got him to Harborview. We got a call and immediately jumped in the car. And by the time we got there, it was a doctor sitting with us in a private room, just saying that the injury was pretty bad. And then we went and saw Sam in the ED, the emergency department, in his room. And it was hard for my husband and for me both. When Dan had to leave the room, I actually asked the nurse, whose name was Faith, but I looked at her and I just kind of directly said, do I need to be calling people? And she said, yeah, you probably should.
And during this time that you're with Sam, he looked
normal. Perfect.
Yes.
He had no broken bones. There was no indication other than maybe some scratches from the shrubs that he landed in.
Yeah.
That his body had been hurt at all. And it's miraculous that no internal injuries, no anything. It was just brain trauma. His eyes were kind of closed. He just looked like my son.
And did they say that he was able to hear you? Who knows?
There's no indication.
Okay.
Well, what I now know from talking with Michelle, who was there with him, is that he just looked at peace.
Mm.
So, she found him, and he looked fine, but very peaceful. So, in retrospect, I think that he probably really didn't feel much.
Yes, because the brain it's the big thing that.
And so I don't think he had pain. He was living in his moment. riding fast, loving it, and then wasn't.
Yeah. And so there's a beauty in that, of
Absolutely,
course.
yeah.
Yes. Of course, for the family left behind, for all the friends left behind, there's that void
Shocking.
now. Yes.
It was shocking. It was shocking. Within hours, friends were gathering. There must have been 20 young men and parents in the waiting room on Tuesday. It happened on a Monday night. On Tuesday, just gathering. And it was once they made their final determination that Sam was really no longer living, everybody just gathered in his room and cried and laughed. And, all of these 22s, 19 to 22s, these young men, just like, how can this be Sam? It's Sam. Why? It's unexplainable, and they just were broken. It was very, very hard.
I don't think we can comprehend it unless we've been through something similar.
Right.
And even then, each situation is unique in itself. So you mentioned they made the determination. Monday night was the crash. Sam is at Harborview. Tuesday, all these friends are gathering. Then the determination comes.
So they had to, there's a protocol that the hospital has to go through, especially when you're looking at organ donation. They have to go through several steps to make sure that Sam is gone. Neurologic testing. And there was just no response. And so, it was at 2:00 that the last doctor was there and basically said, yeah.
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday, yeah.
So that was fast.
That was, yeah. I think that they probably knew that going in. And it was just a matter of making sure that everything was done properly and that they fully evaluated. You think about, do we put a sensor in? I mean, is there any way that his brain might be okay? But at the, based on just the looks from the doctors, and I had a couple friends there who were EMTs, and there just didn't seem to be really any indication that Sam would come back.
Right. And so you mentioned with organ donation, this was already something Sam had made a decision about, your family believes in.
We've never really talked about it, but we're all organ donors on our driver's license. And that little checkbox that he marked getting his driver's license was amazing. And what he's been able to do as a result of that, it certainly brought new light to organ donation for me and our family and our friends and everybody affiliated with this story.
Because how many people are actually touched by that?
Well, one of the things I learned, the folks with Life Center Northwest were amazing. Noelle was kind of my primary person throughout this process. And one of the things that she shared is that at any given time, there's 123,000 people waiting for an organ donation. And in any given year, approximately 8,000 transplants occur. The 123,000 number never goes down, and it only gets larger. In a trauma center, only about 1% of patients who pass are viable to donate organs.
Really?
And the fact that Sam was perfect made his donation really substantial.
Certainly being young.
Amazing. Being young, great physical condition, no broken bones, no internal injuries. In my head, Sam, God didn't cause Sam's accident, but God bubble wrapped him and made it possible for him to contribute in so many ways as a result of being an organ donor. It's unbelievable that there was no other injury.
Oh, that does seem phenomenal. from a crash.
Yeah.
That would be the case.
Yep.
Yeah. And to be thrown, that's like this miracle.
Quite a ways.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so, while this is a huge loss, I mean, an incomparable loss in your life, yet others are benefiting. They're living as a result, or maybe just living a better life as a result.
There's organ donation, which Sam originally, they were talking about using his liver for 2 recipients. There were five organ recipients who benefited from Sam's passing. His heart was perfect. I got to see it on ultrasound in his room. I got to see his heart beating. His lungs, perfect. Kidneys, liver. And then they also donate pancreas and, who knew, lower intestine. But they were originally going to have 2 recipients for his liver. I found out on Thursday, after this all happened, that there was a pediatric need for that liver.
Oh.
And so it was urgent. So instead of being several more days out for the surgery, they moved it up very quickly. And to think about the logistics of, they have to go through all their testing once Sam has passed. There's a lot of testing, blood work, checking his lungs in a different test that I didn't want to be in the room for, the ultrasound of the heart, and just making sure that all of his organs are okay. But then once that happens, once they get this information, then they start looking for recipients. And there's transplant teams that have to, get together and start going, okay, we have, there's families to notify and that there's a recipient. And so there's an amazing amount of process and moving that happened very, very quickly because of this pediatric need. And in addition to the organs, I had no idea that what tissue transplant could do. And Noelle had told me as many as 50 people will benefit from his nerves. He wasn't broke. He was perfect. So somebody who's, had an injury where they've lost nerve function, or they've got constant pain because of nerves in their arms and their limbs, his spinal cord was perfect. They can get regained functionality and movement and life through the tissue side of donation.
It's that aspect, I think, has grown,
Mm-hmm.
no doubt, over time.
Mm-hmm.
And so with Life Center Northwest, they're right on site, I would imagine,
Yes.
at Harborview.
Yep. And they were there Tuesday before the final determination was made, because he had that on his driver's license.
Mm.
And it is a very surreal experience to start talking about organ donation with my son right there. Yeah. And to think about what that's going to look like. I want my son's body to be perfect, but it's just his body at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And, thinking about what are they going to do to him in surgery, and it just breaks your heart to think about skin transplants and nerves and just.
So you almost have to not think about those pieces, I imagine.
Kind of. I chose to focus on the outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sam's body wasn't going to help him anymore. And I actually, when I heard about this pediatric need and moving everything up, that was my first joy.
Yeah.
In the experience. I was like, oh my gosh, of course, Sam, what an amazing young man. Of course, you're going to do all these things.
Yes, people will live, this
Yes.
young child.
5 organ recipients, and then whatever else with the tissue, the nerves and skin and everything else. It's corneas.
Oh, yes, that's
Yeah.
a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's such a gift that can come from all of this tragedy and suffering, but to think about new life and continued life and thinking of a child
Yeah.
being able to have their whole life ahead of them, the
It's
pediatric,
miraculous.
yes, it is.
It's a gift.
Would you say in retrospect now, and for others to think about, is it a conversation we should just make sure we have to talk about, if whatever the circumstances are, we want to make sure that we move forward with organ donation?
Absolutely. Kind of reflecting back on the conversation, I had a friend of mine and I went to meet with the first responders, and they're saying, we don't often hear the outcomes. We're right there on the scene, and we have to move forward. But just sharing the whole process of organ donation. One of the firefighters, actually had a family member who was an organ donor and kind of went through the process, and it was very, very hard for them. They weren't prepared emotionally, not that I was, but they weren't prepared to have that conversation when your loved one just passes. It's time sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a result of his experience, he actually took the organ donor designation off of his license. But then after kind of walking through my perspective, our scenario with Sam, he said he's going to go and put that back on. So being aware that your loved one is an organ donor, I think is very, very important. Understanding it's going to be hard, but the value and the benefit that can come from the donation is life-changing, life-saving, and made it all worth it for me.
So this, as you were saying, Sam's beautiful body, you wanted it intact, but it serves no purpose right here for him. But others have such value, such great life from it.
Yeah.
So it's a marvelous gift. And of course, you're really encouraging all of us to make sure that we think about this and contact Life Center Northwest.
Make sure you put that designation on your driver's license. Life Center Northwest will contact you if that ever becomes a reality, or your family, But to learn more about it, absolutely. They have, I'm sure, amazing resources available. They have resources for post-donation to help families walk through. And they're just spectacular people. Noelle spent a lot of time with me, and some of the things that they did for us was, I have this quilt.
Yes, beautiful quilt.
With Sam's handprint on it. And it has this special place on it that is just right there for Sam's handprint. It's meant to be loved and washed and cared, it's going to last forever. I hope, in my world.
Yes.
And then, these healing hearts and just things to help you remember your loved one. And just kind of walk away with not just the memory of your loved one, but the memory of their gift.
Yes, what their life meant, and it keeps that close to you all the time. Just these tangible reminders.
Yep.
And I saw on their website for Life Center Northwest, which is simply lcnw.org, so easy to get to, that they provide this support for a minimum of 18 months. So I really cherish that there's no hurry through this.
Right.
18 months is respecting that this all takes time, and it's a minimum.
Right. And I've been asked about the opportunity to meet some of the recipients, and that's definitely something I hope happens. I plan to write to them about Sam and also wish them well, and have them know that I'm not sorry. I'm sorry I lost my son.
Mm.
I am not sorry that somebody else is living a new life because of his organ donation. And in fact, that gives me joy. And one of the Life Center workers was saying that it's awkward for the recipient families because their gain is my loss. And so they suggest, maybe in a year or so, if you want to write to the donor family, so that they give people time to process. And like I said, that recipient side is joyful and wonderful, and your family member is living, hopefully, a better life because somebody else lost their life.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the weird dynamic, hard to process.
I can sense, though, there's a way philosophically, spiritually, this could help us to kind of get a better sense of the whole cycle of life and death, and how it all intermingles.
I think that the only reason that I'm upright and walking through this is I had several conversations with God when Sam got his motorcycle. When I knew he was riding, he rode it home over Memorial Day weekend from Nevada. As mom, I had those moments of like, oh God, what if? And just, what if something happens? And in those times, I just had this sensation, I am going to be so thankful for Sam. I am going to just be thankful for the amount of time that we had. God, if it happens, if it's my worst nightmare, I'm going to be thankful. And in hindsight, I think that I was somehow being prepared.
Yes.
And that's really helped me keep that mindset.
And thinking of these sorts of things is, I think, of value for all of us. Perhaps, we don't want to, but, seeing you, having a conversation with you, Corrie, I feel that we can really sense the value of thinking about these things. We don't want that to happen, but just to, be at peace with this whole cycle of life.
Well, and having a conversation about, what if something happens? I'm an organ donor. These are my wishes, so that it's not so shocking if that actually ends up happening. That the family kind of has an opportunity to just talk through it a little bit. What does it mean to be an organ donor? It means somebody lost a life, but it means that so many others will gain life.
As we've heard, those numbers are huge, and yet one single person gaining that is a big number, and that's all the difference it makes in their life.
Yep.
Through the course of this, too, the other piece of it is motorcycles, young people, speed. And you've touched on that, how he loved to drive fast.
Yep.
Although it didn't feel like he was being reckless. It was circumstances.
He was living in his moment. He was going way too fast. And another, this is another thing that I think Sam is sitting next to me saying, yeah, Mom, go. Talk about it. Because I was young. I don't hate motorcycles today. I love being on a motorcycle. There is just a freedom and a joy that just, it's I don't know. It's different than riding in a car. It's just, and the motorcycle didn't cause the accident. A 22-year-old boy going too fast, and it's not that he was thinking that he's reckless. It's not that he was thinking he's going to live forever. Yeah. You're just not thinking about it. I got on the back of a bike, somebody I didn't even know, in my early 20s, and 120 miles per hour down 405, and it's, anything could have happened. My other son got a ticket for going 40 over and passing on a double yellow line several months ago. I'm like, dude, what are you thinking? Because when they're 14, 15, 16, getting ready to start driving and getting their licenses, or even younger, and somebody does that to you when you're driving, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe these people are so crazy. Why would they? That's so irresponsible. Not that a young child would use that word, but, but I mean, it's just like, what are they thinking? Mm-hmm. And then they're doing it. They become these young adults, and they get that freedom, and they're just not thinking. And, there has to be a discussion about consequence. Nobody expects it. I think I'm going to live forever. I can drive great. I'm an accomplished motorcycle rider. But boy, just one small rock.
Yes.
Changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
And no family wants to be sitting where I'm sitting.
No.
No kid wants, I see Sam sitting here, and he's probably saying, I'm sorry, Mom. Yeah, it was stupid. Not thinking. And so that's so important. Please think when you're behind the wheel or on a motorcycle. One of my close friends at work, just a couple months ago, his son was in a car driving too fast, single car accident, and he lost his life. It doesn't matter if it's motorcycles or cars.
Right. Yes, it happens. And it can happen at all ages.
Yep.
But certainly it seems to be so concentrated with the young because everything is exactly, yes.
Yep.
And the real important message to take here is, as you've shared with us, Corrie, how to have the conversations, the tough conversations, and to say what if, and remember about organ donation, and make sure that if this happens, the consequence of death, then make something really of value come out of it.
Yep.
Right.
To me, it's beautiful. Like I said, that was my first point of joy, was just kind of getting to know what Sam was actually going to accomplish. Yeah. And that there was a child that was going to benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, I feel that we have benefited immensely with your being so willing to share your story. And as you said, Sam would want you to be doing this. So his spirit is with us, encouraging and wanting this word to go out. And, it feels to me as though, maybe in 6 months or in a year, perhaps it's in a year, we have a conversation again when you have a chance to maybe have made some contact or heard from recipient families what that means.
Yep.
But the big thing is wanting people to really think about these things and really to remember Life Center Northwest.
Absolutely.
Well, you are such a courageous woman, Corrie Schumacher. Thank you so greatly for feeling this call and following through with it and taking time with us this morning.
Oh, my pleasure. I want to continue to honor Sam, and this whole thing of advocacy for organ donation. I hope to speak to kids in high school. This whole thing about just, yes, organ donation, but also just smart driving, smart riding, that message to just stop and think is something that will keep Sam alive for me going forward. And just he's so in my heart. And it just feels like something that is perfect and right, and it is absolutely something that Sam would be proud of and want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I get that feeling. And again, many thanks for having this passion.
Thank you, Kate.
And with that, we're at the end of a very full hour of Inspirational Women with Corrie Schumacher and Sunday Morning Magazine with Dr. Gary Simmons. I'm Kate Daniels, your host, and I so greatly appreciate your sharing your time with me and these special guests. For details you might have missed or information you'd like to know, please just send me an email, kated@warm1069.com, and I'll get right back to you. Also, if you'd like to listen again or share these important stories with your family and friends, find the podcast on our Warm 1069 webpage. Click on the podcast tab, then the show names, and look for today's guests or even previous ones. I now wish you and your family a day of gentleness with ourselves, with each other. Have a week of the same, and then please plan to join me again next weekend for another hour of Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women on Warm 1069. Good morning.